Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of the Nerdy Old Men podcast. I am your co-host Chad, and one of the greatest sounds I like to hear is roll for initiative. You know, some of the greatest storytellers you might think of, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, Tom Clancy, but none of them hold a candle to the Dungeon Masters. Is that right, Redneck Wes?
Oh, I would have to say that the Dungeon Master is by far the greatest storyteller in all of history. Entire worlds are built within his imagination. And with us today is one of our dear friends and our DM for many an adventure, and that's our buddy Jason. We've mentioned Jason before, but this is the first time we've had him on the show. So, Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself there, buddy?
Hey, I'm Jason. I've known Chad since probably freshman year in high school.
Yeah.
Wes, I've known since elementary, but we really didn't interact until middle school, really. Until we started playing football together.
Second grade, and then it was, somewhere around
Seventh,
8th grade?
7th, 8th grade when we started playing football together.
Yeah.
And then we started playing D&D shortly after that, probably. I think it was. Yeah.
That's right.
Our first
Many
D&D group
moons
that we
ago.
had together was me, Wes, Jason Goins, Wiseman, I think, Justin, Heath Lawson, Michael Marsh,
Mark Baird.
and Mark Barrett. I'm not sure if he was there at first because he didn't join us till high school, I think, but it might have been middle school. I'm not positive about him. And Neil joined us, but not at that time, I think.
Right, and I came in when I met you guys freshman year of high school because I'd come
freshman
back.
football.
Right, yeah, because I'd met you guys, and I'd come back from working at Boy Scout summer camp, and that was my first introduction to Dungeons and Dragons, and I was telling you guys about it, and it was like
'Cause I
the
remember
heavens
asking you,
opened up, man. The heavens opened
what's
up, and
Dark
light shined
Sun?
down. Right, and light shined down when you guys were like, "Man, we've been playing for years." I was like, "Oh my God, I have arrived," you know. So, what other kind of stuff you like, Jason, other
let's
than
see.
obviously Dungeons and Dragons?
See, I played Dungeons and Dragons. I played 2nd, 3, 3.5, and 5th edition. Let's see, I've played Marvel, the old Marvel back in middle school,
Marvel
DC, BattleTech, Dark Conspiracy.
Yes, Dark Conspiracy. I forgot about that.
That was with Matt Trail.
Yes.
He could tell a story.
Oh, yes.
a
that
very
dude could tell
odd
us.
story.
That
It was
that
odd,
dude
but
could
yeah,
tell a
but he was
story.
good.
That's probably why he became a lawyer.
Probably. Let's see, let me think. I played L5R, Legends of the Five Rings, there's probably other games in there that I just can't think of any on the top of my head. But my first D&D groups was probably the first adventure was with my brother.
Yes.
He had a little adventure. It was just a self thing. He would just run me through it, and I was hooked from thereafter. I've been a player with his groups and with Patrick. It was Patrick, Derek, Mac, Sean, Kevin. Kevin was DMing those.
Now, that was a crew right there.
Yeah,
There's a large army gathering.
yeah. But it was all fun. I could say Patrick and his Logan Fucus, the fat hairy elf.
Yes. Yeah.
He had a charisma score of like 3.
Yeah.
They put him a big pot belt, one of the big had a mask on it. Where you open it up, you see their face, keep it down. Here, you want to see what it looks like? Scare him. Raise up the thing. They'd all run from him.
Well, they were the ones that invented the demi-lich in a bag of holding.
That was Michael Butterini.
Was Butterini the one that
Yeah.
that did that one?
I don't even know if it's possible, but that is the greatest thing ever, though.
Butterini was the head of Vecna. The Demi Lich was Patrick and all them. Yes, that is right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just remember it's like, we gotta have a demi-lich in a bag of holding. You have a what? And they would
Yeah.
open the bag up and the lich would
Like,
consume
no, they're like, no, we're not going to open the bag. We're going to keep the bag shut. Yeah,
Now,
we had a blast though because they sold my brother's character into slavery, created a clone of her, and sold her.
That doesn't, knowing those guys, it doesn't surprise me at all.
No, it didn't. It was hilarious. We had fun though.
No, but you're also an avid reader of the genre as well.
I read at least a book a day.
Let me tell you about Jason. Jason's like a speed reader, but he also retains every bit of it. And I remember once upon a time, and he may deny this accusation, but I know this man went into bookstores and read books in the store and then left.
No, I did that.
Yes, you did. And it's
I'd
amazing.
sit there and
They
read a
were-
book. And I just go find me. About to say books. They don't have those chairs a whole lot anymore in a lot of those things.
That's probably
They have
'cause of you.
comfortable chairs. I'd go in there, sit down, get a book, sit there and read it.
Yes,
Get about halfway done. I'd be okay. I put it back. Next time I come, I'd pick it up from where I was at.
that's right.
I've actually
saved me
seen
at
that
that
in
time.
person.
At that time, there was no books. I mean, you had to buy a book, and it was $20, $30,
Right.
or $9 for a paperback. And you're like, I'm not gonna pay that much.
Right. Oh yeah.
I was a college student.
Right. It was a library for you. But the thing about Jason is he would retain every bit of that, and he was able
Yes.
to take a lot of this stuff from Dungeons and Dragons fiction and fantasy fiction and sci-fi, and turn it into these games that we played in high school because. We didn't really have campaign settings or purchased adventures. Jason came up with all this stuff for us, and
Well,
that
most of
gave us
our
our
stuff-
love of this.
Most of our stuff was the community pool, where we would borrow, and I'm using air quotes when I say we would borrow books from Patrick and Derek. But it was like we had a couple of player handbooks, borrowed DMG, and I want to say a monster manual maybe, and that was it. And the rest of it was in Jason's head, and that was the world that we played in.
We had a book, The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. It had a map in it, and we started on one side of it. It was just the basic of the map. None of the towns were there. It was just the map. We started on one side of it. We ended up by the time we finished, we was on the other side of the map.
And
That's
was
what
like
started it all.
it was like 20 levels later.
Yeah.
And it was the greatest thing. I talked about and back in the solo podcast I did, Roll for Initiative on Trinity's Tirades, I talked about you and how, late at night when we're all half asleep and you're half asleep telling the story and you're like, Jason, oh, you see a man. And then you start to zone out again. Jason, what's he doing?
He's walking down the road.
And then he disappears. And I'm like, oh my God, Jason, wake up. Come on.
You get tired.
But of course, I mean, that.
When it's 3:00 in the morning, the storytelling kind of drops off.
But it was some of the greatest times ever. And the beauty of it is we still do that.
Yeah.
We still get together. Right now, because of COVID-19, we use Roll20, and it's worked out really well. And I'm DM in our group right now, and I do my very best, but I lean on Jason a whole lot because he is the ultimate rules encyclopedia. And if he doesn't know it, he makes it up, and we roll with it, right?
It is fun though when you catch him when he's wrong. Those are
Well,
fun
look,
times.
The look on his face, yeah.
That's the thing with DMs, though. With the rule book is just there as a guide.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
If it works out for you, well, then use it. If it doesn't, throw it out and put in your own rule.
Well, it's one of those
That's
things.
the thing with DMing. So there's several different types of DMs. There's the kinds that follow the story to the letter. You have to do what's in a specific order to do it. Those, they have their place, but they're really no fun.
No.
But the way I always did it was you have an endpoint. How you get there, that's your own business. However, you go from point A to point D to point B to Z. It's how you get there. That's what makes it fun.
Right. Do you recall the first time you ever actually ran a game, Jason?
No.
No, it's been too many.
There's been too many in there, but it was probably with probably the first games that I ran was probably with Wes and Heath and all of them out at Heath's grandmother's or at Marco Marsh's house.
Right. We played
And
a lot
it
up
was with
at
that
Bo's,
It was
too.
with that Silmarillion map.
Yeah. Yeah, but you come up with these great stories, and I still remember that stuff. And like I've said before, man, it made us a bunch of weirdos, for lack of a better word, man. We were heroes for that night,
Yeah.
We could escape from anything else that may be going on in the world, and just get all of us just laying around all over the freaking room, throwing stuff at each other. Playing doorknob and, and rolling dice, man. And it was just some of the best times in the world. And I'm glad that we're able to continue to do that. And I know, Wes, you're doing a little bit of DMing now as well for another group outside of us.
Yeah, actually, I was working on an adventure last night, and it was about 1:30 in the morning, and I realized I got to go to bed.
You have to work.
Yes.
Actually, I was on vacation, so it worked out good. But it was you kind of get lost sometimes trying to do all the notes and stuff because there's so many more resources available.
Now, are you
Yeah, we-
homebrewing your deal?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Because I'm kind of like Jason. I think as long as you're having fun, it doesn't there's certain rules. You have to do this and then this and that, and then I'm like, I've had players come up with creative things that I didn't really think of, and I'm like, I'm gonna let that happen. And I know you're supposed to roll for it, but that is so cool.
Yeah. You can make them roll for it and say, okay, you passed.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah, or just I know Jason had a trick that scared the crap out of us all the time. He'd grab a handful of dice and just start rolling random dice. And we're like, oh, what's going on behind the DM screen? What was that for, Jason? Nothing. I was just checking something. And you're on the edge of your seat going, oh crap, what's coming?
Especially when he rolled that D100 and it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling.
Gosh, the golf ball.
I never know what happened to that thing.
We don't need to know what happened to it.
It just
It just
disappeared one
vanished.
day.
The only dice I'm ever concerned about finding is that rose dice.
The rose dice,
Jason had a
yes.
D20 that had a rose where the 20 was, and we've talked about this before. And that was the greatest die when Jason was playing with you because it always landed on 20. And that die sucked incredibly.
Yes.
I mean, it was horrible because it always rolled a 20 when he was DMing.
I had it when we first started playing this new campaign, but then it just that whole bag of dice disappeared.
That's a shame. It'll pop back up again right when you need it.
Probably, or my daughters took off with it somewhere. Hell, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
and that's something
because you've
that's
trained.
cool.
You've got her playing too now, right?
Yeah, her and her friends play.
That's amazing. That's so cool. But Wes is doing a homebrew. Jason always did a homebrew stuff, except for Dragon Mountain.
Except for Dragon Mountain.
When we did Dragon Mountain, and that was pretty epic too.
Dragon Mountain was hard.
It very much was. And when we decided to get back together a few years ago and start playing again, I was like, well, let me try my hand at DM because Jason DM'd for like 8 years, and let me try it. And so I decided to get the Tomb of Annihilation because at the time it was said to be the absolute toughest campaign in 5th edition, so I had to get it and try it. And dadgum, these guys and their tactics. It's so difficult. I've tried to make it so hard as I can because to make it interesting because you guys you tactic your way out of everything.
You
know?
have to now.
Absolutely.
Because if you think about it, you really can't have a meat shield. Not if you think about
Not
it.
like 3rd edition or 2nd
No.
edition. No.
Because you're going to get hit no matter what you do.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Just like the very first engagement you guys had, and my brother
Our meat shield.
dropped to 0 in the very first engagement before he could take a swing. And
But the way it is, the way it's 5th edition is set up, it's for you basically want to stay away from everybody. You want to stay at range.
I never thought I'd live to see the day where that happened because I was always the meat shield.
But unless you have like an AC of like my cleric does of like a 21 or up, then you do not want to go into melee combat.
and I mean, especially like the first time you guys ran into a T-Rex in Chult.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is bad because I mean, I try to go with the random encounter rolls and actually give you what pops out. To
I
be
remember
fair.
the look on your face. You were just like, oh.
Yeah, and and at the time we're playing here before COVID, and I actually had a miniature of the T-Rex, and I set it out there on the board, and I'm like, this is going to be so bad. And dang, these guys just split out, just fanned out in all opposite directions, and I just rolled a dice to see who it would chase, and it tried to chase, I can't remember who it was, but never even got there before it got pelted to death. And that was just brilliant. And it worked great together. But the beauty of that is because, you and me and Terrence and Wes, we've all been playing, right? But we brought in my brother who had never played before. And
Bless his heart.
Right. And we brought in Scott who'd been probably playing as long as we have, but just in a different group. And we didn't know him. He's from another city. But instantly everybody worked together. Now you had to help Jay out some because he's never played before, right? But everybody just worked in sync, Scott and his marmalade spell, and everything, and it works out great.
Well,
but the story is the thing, and I'm just not I don't know, my mind just doesn't work like Jason's did or Wes's does on that. So I've got to kind of use the book as a guide, but I try to make it challenging. But what really impresses me is you guys that just developed the whole thing yourself, like Jason with the entire world that he built for us when we were kids. That is some pretty cool stuff.
That makes it fun too because then you can do whatever you want. You don't have to stick. I mean, because basically, like in the one that I'm running, for my wife and one of her friends and her husband, I'm just using the the map of Faerun. Pretty much like the Sword Coast and the middle part of the world, and I just need just so I can have places to send them,
Yeah, that's all you really need is a map with just reference points.
and that's it. The rest of it is just things that I think would be cool to do, which I think that's what a lot of Jason's adventures were. It was just either things that he has done with Patrick and Derek, or just something. I read something about something similar and thought it would be cool.
Yeah.
Wes, tell us without any spoilers. Tell us about this campaign that you've developed for your wife and your friends there.
My wife and her friend Jessica, they grew up together, kind of sort of like what me and Jason did, and they've been friends pretty much their whole life. And Jessica's husband Steve, he and I have been friends for 15, 16 years. I met him through work, and with 5th edition becoming so popular, everybody's wanting to play Dungeons and Dragons. And Steve had played some growing up, not as much as what we had, but he knew how everything worked. So I didn't really have to teach him a whole lot. But trying to keep it interesting for the ladies. Sometimes you have to keep things simple until they kind of figure out, okay, I do this and this and this. And
wait a minute, did you just say that you had to keep it simple for your wife? I just want to make sure that was recorded.
I did, and she'll admit that, because we'll go back to playing and she'll be like, no, wait a minute, how do I do this? But
again, that was Redneck West that said he had to keep it simple for his wife.
Yes, it was.
But it was teaching them, and so I'm like, okay, I've got to make it interesting, and you got to come up with all these characters and stuff. And I said, I've got 30 years worth of characters that I've played with, so there may or may not be some references to characters that we have played.
Yes, sir.
Just so I can keep everything, because we've played
Those
so
are the
long
easy
with
ones
these.
to remember.
Well, we have the history with them. We know what they would do. So
if you bring Legar in, make sure he burns something down.
oh yeah,
For those you don't know, that's my old mage that I played when we were a kid. So
fireball,
it
fireball.
works.
Some more.
It works. It works.
But it was basically, you send them. I had a young mage who was questing, and he was actually sent out by Legar, and he was to retrieve this book. And of course, they found this I just called it, the Tomb of the Abyss, and basically it's got all the names of the demons and devils that are in the abyss, and how to control them. This part's not been revealed yet, so spoilers. So as they get the book, they're like, "Oh, we've got this book," because that's all they know is they're after this tome, and it's very powerful. Because the look on their face was priceless. Because as they come out into the hallway, there's just, I don't know, like 30 different demons and devils, and I put a Baylor down, and this one mage that's controlling all of them, and they literally had the old poop moment, and because they're like first level. There's like, Steve knows enough to know that Baylor is bad.
It's a good shock to their system and put them right into the
And so I had this giant mirror. It was basically like a Stargate type thing. Can take you different places. And they really didn't understand how it worked, so I kind of had to push that. But as they're going through, the young mage gets captured, and he had gave the book to the paladin. And, he said, "Promise me that you get this to Legar." And he's like, "Swear it." And so the paladin swears an oath in the moment of escape that he will get the book to Legar. And they go through the mirror's destroyed, and they're on the other side of Faerun. And they're trying to get back to basically Waterdeep,
that's cool.
to that side of the Sword Coast. And so it's just, and a lot of it was I had taken from things that we had done with Jason.
Right. But this is a continuing campaign. You're
there's
still
kind of
working
little
on it.
arcs, and just things that we had done that were cool. I've kind of incorporated into, just the whole basically journeying across the world, and that's how you advance your character. giving cool magical items, because I've played with DMs that were very limited on magic, and you're just, oh wow, I did awesome. I rolled 7 points of damage.
Yeah.
And it's just, it was a grind,
And I can't stand that. I mean, I think and that kind of brings me to another thing. As a DM, what do each of you think is like the worst thing you could possibly do as a DM? Probably. Jason, what do you think?
Probably the thing that I did originally when I was first starting out is give out magic items freely. You can give them out, but you need to refrain from it for a lot of it.
Yeah, there's a
magic
balance.
itself is fine, but if you give out too many magic items to begin with, they just take it for granted.
Kind of breaks your game too, though, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Do you think maybe the most egregious gifting of a magical item you ever had was giving Wes that damn Holy Avenger?
Yeah, probably.
I think. But then you took it away. So
Then I took it away, though.
so it was a great equalizer.
And then he hovered.
Yeah, we've already went into
talked
that
about
story.
See, now for all of you fans out there, you can see this is another confirmation of that story. It did in fact occur.
It
He
did
did
happen.
hover. It was quite funny.
Well,
And then Michael's dad would come there and say, "What the hell's going on in here?"
you wouldn't understand, sir, but Wes just levitated. Literally.
Yeah, that's
Was
a
that
true
no,
story,
that was a
folks.
different night that we tried to shave Anson.
Yeah, that's a story for another time.
That's-
but,
But I think that honestly, to answer my own question, two things. I think one, intentionally limiting your players' direction.
creativity.
Yeah. Intentionally limiting, like when we were playing and I'm running that, and you guys are in a mine there in Chult, and Scott's like, you know what? Is that a mine cart right there? I'm like, yeah, because it was there on the map that I pulled up on Roll20. He's got, you know what? I think I'm gonna run and jump on that and pull like a Legolas thing and go rolling in there and shoot the monster. I'm like, okay, cool, roll, see what happens. And he rolled like a 20 or something, so it was like, yeah, man, you go sliding in there and you pop these three guys right in the melons and drop them. And it was like the coolest freaking thing ever, right? But if you dig too much into the rules, maybe he wouldn't have actually been able to do that.
But
That wouldn't have been any
thought
fun,
of.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to throw that out there. And the other thing is guns. You don't use guns in D&D. That's stupid.
Oh, you can, but not to the degree that some people do.
No,
An
that's
arquebus or arc.
Yeah,
That's
a
stupid.
handgun? No. Cannons? I'll give you cannons, but
I
Things
actually
that can,
played
but
with-
it's like once every 3 rounds it can fire.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I played
things
with
like that, yeah.
I played with a DM who had a character in the party, and she was a gunslinger.
Nope.
Gunslinger, bard, tinkerer. She could pretty much do whatever we wanted to do because everything had to fit into his story. We were characters in his story, but we had to play very specifically, kind of like what you were alluding to there, Chad. And if we did things that were, because he was a brand new DM,
Right.
and he was very much under the Matt Mercer effect.
See,
And
I'm not
he was
going to
trying
voice
do
act
too
stuff.
much.
Yeah.
He was trying to do too much, and his character was there to help us, but he wrote the story where his character was the star, and the rest of us were just.
Supporting.
I mean, I
There.
guess that's one way to
And
do
the
it.
guns,
but I
the
don't
guns
like
were
that.
just too much because we didn't have guns.
No.
We didn't. It's Dungeons and Dragons, not redneck shoot 'em up,
Yes.
whatever.
He abused the system like I did
Well-
with my 3.5 rogue.
Oh, I loved your 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 Rogue was an absolute
Because
beast. 3.5 was designed to break the system. It
third edition
designed
was
for
broken,
that.
and we found ways to. That's why I think our characters became way too powerful, way too
Gods,
quick.
pretty much, yeah.
But they were so much fun to play. Oh,
Well, feats, you could just abuse it so much.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I'm actually
let's say
looking
you
to
could-
bring the feet back into my game.
Well, you can bring some of them, but some of them were just so bad.
Well, I miss.
And then you get to the prestige classes, and it's oh boy.
Well, like your thief had rapid shot and multi shot and point blank shot and
Yep.
never going to miss you shot and it was
yeah,
like
and he
Yondu's
created-
arrow. It would like fly around and kill
Yeah.
everything on the board.
He created from anything from 16 to created usually with a bow and arrow at that time was just a 19 and a 20. He created it from 17, 18, 19, 20.
And that's insane. And then you're talking about the prestige levels or whatever it was when you got to, I guess, 20th level or something. and I had
No, that was Epic Adventures.
Well, right. Legar had like 10th level spells.
Yeah.
And he'd cast Time Stop, roll
As
a
a free
D4,
action.
and that was how many rounds time was stopped. And if you got a 4, I could cast 4 freaking spells all at once, and then
No, you didn't
shape
cast them all
them.
at once. They all took into effect.
Well, right. But that's broken, man. That's ridiculous. But I guess if you think
my
about
paladin had
somebody being that high
370
level,
hit points, and
Yeah,
then we
that's a bit much.
we had damage reduction, and then we had regeneration, and it was
so that comes to another point I was thinking about. Jason, how in the world did you make anything challenging?
You just.
I mean, because you did do it. Just how did you do it?
you don't
just
let
creatures-
the dragon die when it hits 0 hit points.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Things last a lot longer than they should, but it's just what you have to do sometimes when you give them too much stuff. With dragons, and a great Rim dragon has at that time had 400 or 500 hit points, AC, and 3.5. God, it was horrible. It was way up there as high as anything can get.
Right.
And their damage they did on attacks was just outrageous. But still, you could kill them rather quickly with a full party of like 18, 19 level characters, no matter if you didn't give them anything or not. But they just lasted longer than they should. Almost all creatures you fought would last longer. You fight Githyankai because of their Vorpal swords, or their silver swords when you're in the astral plane. They kill you. So you have to find creatures that will do more things to them. Like what was that creature? You had to take it down to negative 300. I'm trying to think.
It's not a basic,
Trask.
is it? No, Trask. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, but you didn't really
A
kill it
Trask,
when
you had to take it to like
300.
negative 30 hit points and then make a wish just to kill it. There's a whole there's a book out. It's Forgotten Realms where the whole book is about somebody fighting a Trask.
Right. And that's
But
nuts,
you
man.
just had the creatures you had to fight. You had to find legendary creatures for them to fight.
I mean,
That was,
I
one
just
of the
remember
creatures
these.
we never did fight though. Our group, we never did fight the Trask.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was just too complex to deal with as a DM.
Yeah,
I mean,
something
some of those things are like that, honestly, because I'm relatively novice at DM, and sometimes when and spoiler alert, you'll get some red wizards coming after you sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, it's hard to run those as a DM because I haven't run a magic user in 5th edition. I haven't run a magic user in a long, long time as a player character. So I got to plan ahead and make sure I remember how these freaking spells even work. So that's a bit of a challenge. And so DM's got to really be on their game, especially if you're homebrewing and stuff like you guys are able to do. I cheat. I got the book, man, and I just got to try to use it to help guide me because you guys are like, you're like the NFL of player characters, and I'm just trying to keep up at a little league,
Well,
So-
that's like for the adventure that I'm running for Julie. I actually went into Roll20, or excuse me, not Roll20, but D&D Beyond, and I actually made a 10th level character that they're going to encounter soon, just so I could get the spells and everything right. Because, okay, I'm gonna come up and hit you with a mace. I'm gonna hit you with a mace. Hit you with a mace. Okay, I'm dead.
Right.
You've got so much more at your disposal, like a spiritual weapon or different spells, that I'm a little hesitant to use because I don't want a total party kill, because I got to go home.
Well, that would
with
end
one of the
poorly for
characters,
you, yeah.
and I don't want her too
The
mad
thing
at
is,
me.
though, it's really hard to kill unless you kill every single character. It's nearly impossible to kill the whole party. Reason being is because it takes so much to actually kill a character now. Because you have to get them to they have to fulfill a saving through 3 times.
Yeah, death save, yeah.
You have to. That's really hard to do. Or the person
Although
just
we've
keeps
seen it come
beating on
close.
you.
Yeah. Or
No,
you get...
he's only failed it once, and then we brought him back.
Oh, Jay? Yeah.
Yeah, but then or they take if they have 60 hit points, they got to go to negative 60.
Right.
That's the other way you kill them. But then nothing's going to hit you that much. You fall down unless there's nobody else left. They're going to go on to the next thing that's moving, no matter what it is. It's a person, a creature, or what. So
Right.
it's really hard. It really is hard to kill people if
Yeah.
they're paying attention.
Yeah, if they're paying attention. And it's hard to sneak anything by you guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're never going to figure this out. And as soon as it pops out, they're like, it's this. And I'm like, dadgummit. You guys are ridiculous. but that's what makes it fun and challenging too. So I'm looking forward to us winding this one up in the next couple months or so, and then our good buddy Scott's going to run us through Ravenloft. It sounds like, which is an adventure area that I like a whole lot, and I only got to play with it a little bit. You're talking about Matt Trell. Didn't Matt run us through a little bit of Ravenloft once upon a time, Jason? I think he did, because he was into that kind of stuff. And
he liked Ravenloft.
And I'm super excited to play that because I think that's kind of a different feel for the game. So
it does. It's a lot more undead. It's a lot more darker. And it's just the creatures that you fight are more undead related. And the main bad guy in Ravenloft is Strahd.
Right.
And they also, I'm not sure if he's still there, but Lord Soth.
That's right. Lord Soth was in Ravenloft,
moved to Ravenloft
right?
from Dragonlance.
That's right. So that would be neat. That would be a pretty cool thing, too.
Lord Soth, the Death Knight.
Yes,
It's a dark
sir.
and evil soul. It's a big. Oops, sorry.
There was a
song
song
Patrick
written
Gray.
about
He was going.
It was Lord Soth, the Death Knight, was a dark and evil soul with his big sword and his demon horde, and he could cause fear at will.
I love it.
That.
No, that's
Patrick
awesome.
Nolan created that song, and I laughed so hard. It's funny.
That's good stuff. But what do you think is, and you guys have played more, I think more editions than I've played, but out of all of them, what's your favorite one, you think? Numerical editions. Is what I mean. And I like fifth myself. I really do, because I think it kind of it's you're able to use strategy a little bit more.
Go with first edition Monk or first edition Ranger.
Right.
Oh yeah, I really liked third edition. Just the power game. I liked the feats because you could figure out how to do different things.
And you can also customize your own character a lot more
Yes.
with 3 and 3.5. Because it would be more your character.
Well, I did that with my Ranger. I
It
really
wouldn't
did that
be
with my Ranger.
cookie cutter. That's the only thing about 5 is a lot of characters. You can go from one wizard to the next, and they're all going to be pretty much the same.
Well, that's where people start bringing in. I had a friend, and I can't remember. He's some kind of techno tinker or something or another, but he's got multiple personalities, and he's got basically like an LED screen for his eyes, and things will happen, and his personality will change, and that's how he plays his characters. And he's multi-classing, and it's crazy because they believe in tieflings and guns and all these crazy things, and I'm like,
Guns.
Well,
Well,
tieflings I
again,
can
that's
see.
guns. That's just silly.
well, I've made my
Well, they're probably
thoughts.
also like if they're allowing tieflings, they're allowing planar travel. So that's a whole different thing.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, yeah.
And
That's some
I never
complex
was
stuff.
big on the planar traveling and stuff. That was
We never dabbled in planescapes much, did we?
No,
we very little.
not very much. I played the game on the computer with the Planescapes. It was okay, but you can really get out there with that stuff because you can
Well,
go from the different planes. You can go from hell with Asmodeus and go to the heavens. Pretty much you can go anywhere, and it just
it
it
seems
got a
like
little
we
bit.
had the books on that or something.
We did. We pretty much had every book there was for second and third, 3 and 3.5.
Yeah, and you talking about the game that made me think of. You've been playing some of the beta or whatever for Baldur's Gate 3, right?
I've looked at it, but I've not got it yet. I've been tempted to.
Man, I
But,
loved
they've only
I
got-
loved
they've
the
only
other
got-
two so much, so it just makes me think that, man, this would probably be pretty good. But
They said it's like I'm trying to remember what game it was. They said it's okay, but they're still in. As I said, they're still in an early release. Some people really like it, and some people don't because of the classes and stuff. Because there's only 6 classes available so far out of 12
oh, good
different
grief.
races, and some of them have a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's crazy. Maybe they'll hash it out because I just remember back a long time ago when 1 and then 2 came out, and then Icewind Dale. Those were pretty good games, man. I thought that those were fun.
Well, see, Baldur's Gate 2 went on sale on Steam a couple months ago, and I bought it for like $5.
Oh man, that'd be fun to play through again. I think.
And it was all of Baldur's Gate 2, the first part, and the Throne of Baal, and the Shadows of Alm. It's all of it.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but say you can start off with the first one, or just go straight to the Throne of Ball or whatever.
Now, there's other ones that we haven't touched as far as campaign settings, like any of that, like Eberron. We haven't messed with
Eberron?
that. Yeah, we haven't
That's
messed with
what
that any.
Dungeons and Dragons Online is based off of.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, or at least originally. It now has things from Forgotten Realms in it as well. It's a little different. They have golems, but they're not really golems. They're a character where you can play. It's okay.
I don't think I could venture away from Forgotten Realms too much.
Forgotten Realms has everything you pretty much need, but I've played the original Dragonlance, and it was hard because
That's what I hear.
A wizard could only go up to level 18 max, and to get above a certain level, you had to go to the tower and pass a test, just like it did in the books. You actually had to go do that. And Raceland from the books was level 20. They said, "How did he do that?" He was Raceland. He was that powerful. But then you look at his character sheet. He had at level 20, he had 50 hit points.
Wow.
He was just that. That's how well he knew his spells and how much what he could do. Let's say he killed a god. He killed Tiamat. He killed them all, and then they changed time, and he's like, "Nope, I'm not going to do it now."
I remember playing the adventure, and we had all read the books, and
oh yeah,
it started out with Autumn Twilight, and
yep.
I remember because for whatever reason I had to play two characters, so I got Gold Moon and
Riverwind.
Riverwind, yes, thank you. And everybody's like, "Stay away from that pit," because the dragon. So we kind of deviated from the actual story because we'd all
those
read
characters
the
were
books.
horrible.
Oh gosh, that was
But
rough.
the reason being is because the Weissman and Hickman those were actually real characters that they played. When they first started writing the books, from what I've read, is those characters were real to them. That's their characters that they were playing at the time.
See, that's such a cool story. I mean,
And the character, let's say none of them had. Cameron he was the only 18 in there. He had 18/75 or something like that strength, because at the time in second edition you had there's 18 strength, and then it's 18 percentile if you were a warrior, and he was a warrior, so he had like 18/75 or something like that. And most of the other characters, their stats were horrible. None of them were above. Most of them might have had 2 stats above 12, and the rest of them were below 12, 8s and 7s, average, what they should have been. If it's just the way you're supposed to roll the dice, just straight out rolling them, 3 dice, and you take what you got.
Right, which is kind of the way we've done that before. I think
Yes, it's a lot harder.
It's true. Wes, it's blatantly obvious that Jason remembers absolutely everything about everything.
Unless there's things that he doesn't remember, he makes up.
Then he
or
creates
is
that.
wrong.
So what I'm trying to say is Jason knows a whole lot about Dungeons and Dragons. But is Jason in fact ready for the Nerdy Old Men rapid fire question session?
Dun dun dun.
All right, Wes, today's victim is, of course, the man, Jason. And you may go ahead and proceed.
All right, Jason, I'll give you a softball here. First question: favorite Dungeons and Dragons character class?
Probably a thief.
That
Who'd have
doesn't
thunk
A thief or a thief derivative.
doesn't surprise me at all. All right. The one monster that you love to use as a dungeon master.
None particular, but I like using monsters that have hands, because they can use weapons, and it just makes them more versatile. Because you can have one using a sword, you can have another using a spear.
I like that.
Bows
Very
and
good.
arrows come in handy too in those
Yep.
situations.
There you go.
You
All
can
right.
have you can have a whole, let's say, guys up front with shields, just like a flank unit. So that's just the reason why.
Right.
They give them more versatility.
Good answer. Wes?
Okay, Jason. Favorite, sword and sorcery fantasy type movie?
Oh,
Ooh, you got him.
sad not, but say probably the best one that they've done so far is probably the Sauron,
Lord of the
Fellowship of the
Rings.
Ring,
Or
and all
yeah.
those. Those are probably the
Hey.
best made, and the Hobbit series. Those are all six of those movies are really good.
Love
I
The
didn't
Hobbit.
ask what the best made was. I asked what your favorite was.
Oh, there is no, there's too many. I'm gonna say all six of those movies. I love them. They're all good.
I got
But
one
probably
that's...
the
Go ahead.
fighting. Probably the best fighting was in probably the Two Towers.
I'll give you that one. I got one along the similar way there. Your favorite, and I know you're an avid reader, your favorite fantasy novel that you've read.
Fantasy.
Yeah.
Probably Ready Player One right now.
Ah, okay. All right.
And here in a couple weeks, there's gonna be Ready Player Two.
Ooh. Jason
I didn't know it was out until I seen the.
Jason will read that
ad
in about
for
2
it.
hours.
Probably.
All right, Wes, you're up.
All right, Jason. If you could have any one fantasy weapon or item from movies, Dungeons, Dragons, whatever, what would it be?
Bag of holding.
How did I
Brilliant.
know that one?
Brilliant.
Bag
Brilliant.
of holding, portable hole.
I was going to say the portable hole.
All right. I'll venture away from Dungeons and Dragons for half a second to one of my standard questions that I love
here
so
we go.
much. Here we go. You have to go on a 4-hour drive. There is no radio in the car or any other form of entertainment, and you don't have any books to read. But there is one comic book, superhero or villain that must ride with you on this 4-hour trip. Who is it?
Hero or villain?
Hero or villain?
Probably Green Lantern.
Green Lantern. That's an interesting one.
That's a new
yeah,
one.
I like
I've
that.
liked the Green Lanterns since God, I don't know how long. But I like Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, all of them.
He might actually be able to help you get there quicker too, right?
Yeah.
All right, Wes, you're up. Bring us
Okay.
home.
Last one. Standard Redneck West question here. Pineapple. And does it go on a pizza?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That
You are
is
the winner. That's the correct answer.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ham and pineapple.
Ham and pineapple.
I was waiting for the ham. Everybody says the ham.
That's the only way I order it from Domino's. My wife hates Domino's, but every time I order, I get ham and pineapple.
Domino's is the go-to, man. we used
could
to do
a
it all the
whole
time.
Show about Dominoes and Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
There's a show topic for you.
In the ditch across the street from Terrence's house that looked like it was growing Domino's boxes.
I thought that was behind the fence.
There could have been behind the fence as well, but we throw them across the street.
So his mom wouldn't find them.
Oh, that's a whole.
But she
nother
probably knew
thing.
anyway. She just
Oh
didn't care.
yes, of course she did.
We all
Put
love
up with a
Lydia.
lot from us. So
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you, Lydia, for that.
Absolutely, man. That's good stuff. And you know, in all seriousness, though, being a DM is a challenging thing, and Jason is and was a great one, and brought us all into this thing that we love so much that we still get to do together. And I think that's amazing. I mean, we basically all met each other in our freshman year of high school, and we're still together rolling dice and being silly. And I think that's amazing.
That was the
It's
biggest
highly
thing.
unusual.
It is.
We became more than friends. We became
Oh,
family.
absolutely,
And I really
brothers.
do believe that.
Yeah, absolutely, brothers. And we met playing football, right? But none of us do that anymore. But we still roll dice together.
My body
that's
is
the
glad
stuff.
that we don't.
Just imagine mine.
Yeah. But you know, we'll be back rolling dice again real soon. But we'll roll them digitally until then, and I hope everybody out there is doing the same thing. And you know, and if there's anybody listening that doesn't play D&D, and I don't know if there is such a person that could be listening to this silly podcast, but if you haven't, man, check it out. Bring some friends, bring some family together. I promise you, you're gonna make lasting friendships and lasting memories by just rolling these little plastic dice, whether it's digital or in person. It's a world that you can get away from all this craziness and bond in a way that you may not even realize.
Yeah, because we're talking about things that happened almost 30 years ago.
Some of them
And
did,
it-
yeah.
Yeah, and it's fun to reminisce and talk about it and make fun of one another for the things that we've done. But it really did bring us all together, and that's, I know we had talked about it on another show, Chad, but that's one thing that I'm really thankful for, is that I've got friends that I've had for 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's hard to do.
You know, and we are unapologetically the way that we are. and we've always been that way. And each of us have taught our kids to be that way too. You don't got to be just like us, but be you, because there's nothing wrong with being you. I mean, I'm 43 years, we're in our 40s, and I don't care. I don't care about, I roll dice. Well, so what? I play Dungeons and Dragons. I got books. I got t-shirts for Dungeons and Dragons. I don't care. None of that matters because it's what we love, and it's us, and it's how we participate together as non-blood family, right? So that's what we do.
Find what you like to do and do it.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely. So Jason, thanks for coming on with us, man. We're definitely going to have you come back and talk some more of this craziness with us, because Jason is a wealth of knowledge, if you haven't figured that out already. And he also has a lot of other varied interests that kind of go right in with the same kind of stuff that we do too. So we definitely will have our good buddy back on again. So thank you for coming on and being silly with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Remember, when those orcs come busting through the door and they're bearing down on that stupid halfling that's trying to open that chest in front of you, you got to be ready to roll for initiative.
Yeah.
We'll let them have 'em.
Let him have him.